Man, I'm on here, running for councillor of my ward, and welcome to the study session. We've been focusing a lot on Alex Ramosi and the business side of things, so now it's more of, let's go into the financial literacy side of things. Man, I'm trying, how do I, like, so many questions are going in my head. How do I allocate the money? So I just put money there and it grows. Why? But like I said, step by step. Another element that I would like to add to these videos is probably, because I realized that one of my shorter videos got more views. It got 32 views compared to my long videos. I only get 1 or 2 views. So I've decided maybe like to make it digestible for some of you guys for my long content, maybe put the key points I've learned in the comment section. Like just resume what I've learned in the comment section, or I feel that might help you guys. And perhaps even make a shorter version of this video. Make a shorter version of this video, and is like, okay, these are key factors I learned about the videos that we're gonna watch and stuff. Like I said, we're learning, we're getting better, Kaizen every time. Goal is literally to give you guys value. And you guys are seeing me grow in real time, like this nigga did not just, this guy, he got money, he always had money. No, I did not always have money, bro. You guys go look at me in the future like this nigga always had money. No, I won't be looking, are you guys gonna know if I have money? Well, it depends. I don't know. Personally, I would love to get that secret money. I get money and you guys don't know about it, but we'll see. Let's dive deep, Brody. Let's dive into this, Brody. Let's really dive into this. I'm passionate about this shit, bro. We're gonna start with Asian women. Financial literacy in 68 minutes by Tina Huang. Tina Huang. I love women, I like looking at women talk about money, Brady. Now a long video. Let's see what's going on. Mark
Zuckerberg wore the same outfit every day.
I took Khan Academy.
Mark Zuckerberg wore the same outfit. I don't give a damn. You cute. Alright, let's get this shit started. I'm trying to get the fuck out of here as soon as humanly possible. Let's go.
For you. So here's the Cliff Notes version to save you at least 25-30 hours. This course took me weeks to get through. Like, here are my notes. It is 109 pages long.
I didn't really prime. Let me just see what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about budgeting. Consumer credit. Okay. Money, personality, quiz. Financial goals. Loans and debt. And investment and retirement. Scams and frauds. Career, education, unemployment, taxes, banking, cars, buying, and housing. I'm not really looking for mindset. I'm skip the mindset. I just need strategy. Okay, this is a good strategy where I should put my money at, or how to look for where to put your money at. They're telling me Roth IRA. They're telling me what's the other shit I spent high yield savings. High yield savings, a high interest savings, something like that, all of that. So we're just putting the pieces together. So yeah, let's see.
It is the most comprehensive personal finance, financial literacy course I have ever taken. And probably because it is an accumulation of the past 10 to 15 years of knowledge. It literally covers the foundations of everything. But it is not enough for you just to listen to me talk. So I've also included little assessments throughout the video as well, since it's such a long course. So if you can answer all of these questions, you can consider yourself to be financially literate by the end of this video. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Let's first talk about the structure of this course. There are 16 units in total. Unit 1 is just an introduction. Unit 2 is on budgeting and saving. How do you create a budget, how much you should be saving, how to save. Unit 3 is financial goals. How do you set financial goals? What is a SMART goal? And how does that relate to your money personality? And how to calculate your net worth. Then we're going to loans. How do loans work? How does debt work? What happens if you file for bankruptcy? Unit 6 is on insurance. Unfortunately, lots of things can go wrong in life, and there are lots of types of insurances to try to deal with that. Unit 7 is on investment and retirement. How much do you need to retire, and how do you invest?
I like that she's telling us what we're going to talk about.
In life that you should
that is
be
very
aware.
nice
People
framing.
try to
That is
steal
very
your
nice
money.
strategically.
Then taxes.
Well done.
No need to say more.
I can learn
Unit
from her.
11 is
That's something I will
employment.
get. I'll get better at.
How do you calculate whether an
Okay, I'm looking at the
opportunity is
video.
worth it
I'm
or
giving
not?
a
How do
view.
you choose between different offers?
Let's
Unit
go.
12 is banking.
This girl talking over me and shit, bro. But I really like how she's doing. She's telling us what we're gonna talk about the video before we end up. We go into the video. I even have to like do all this on my own. That's something I can learn from her. Hopefully in the future I can do that to my videos. Like, okay, this is what we're gonna talk about. But let's go. It's very nice for learning to learn. Like the way she's structuring
all the
it.
different types of banks and the different types of bank accounts. It also includes a crash course on interest rates and inflation. Unit 13 is car buying. Apparently, car buying is also a place of one of the most trickeries that people will do on you to trap you into very bad situations. And there's houses. When is it worth it to rent versus buy? And finally, Unit 15 and Unit 16 is on teacher resources and additional resources. Ready? All right, let's go into budget.
Okay, I see what I'm talking about.
First off, what is a budget? A budget is a plan that helps you manage your money. It shows you how much money you have, how much money you need to spend on things, and how much money you can save. Or
is she gonna give us like a rule of thumb, like save 30% of your whole budget? Yeah.
And avoid problems
Probably.
like overspending, debt, or running out of money. In essence, you can think of a budget as a plan for the money that's going to be coming in and what you're going to be doing with it. I'm going to put on screen now a very simple budget sheet that Khan Academy provides. This is a monthly budget, and people can have like super fancy spreadsheets and things like that. Again, this is a very simple one, but they all work essentially the same. You want to keep track of your income in some fashion, whether that be in paychecks or side incomes. Then you want to decide what you're going to be doing with this money. A very popular rule that people like to follow is the 50-30-20 rule, which means that you want to allocate 50% of the money you earn into needs. This will be like groceries, rent, transportation costs. 30% into wants, things that are nice to have but not necessary. Things like going out to eat, watching movies. And finally, 20% into savings. This would include saving for an emergency fund in case you have any
I'm gonna speed this up just a little bit.
Personal emergencies, like getting laid off, or if you just want to help someone. It also includes saving monies for bigger purchases, like maybe you want to own a house or a car. Or you could be saving money for investment for retirement. Here's an example of a budget worksheet. For example, the money that you're bringing in amounts to $3,000. Also make sure that when you're calculating the amount of income, you're looking at after-tax dollars, since that's the amount of money that you actually get to spend. The needs over here adds up to $1,780, which is 59% of our income, and this is actually higher than our target goal of 50% income. The wants total to $795, which is 27% of income, and savings totals to $425, which is 14.17% of income, even though our target is at 20%. So in this scenario, if you want to follow the 50-30-20 rule, it looks like that we need to decrease our needs a little bit in order to bump up our savings. As a little exercise, if you look at this budget sheet, what do you think this person can do in order to decrease the amount of money they're spending on needs to boost their savings? Write it in the comments. Okay, so now let's think through this together. Looking into this needs category, all these things are definitely actually necessary, but there are some things that you can potentially do in order to decrease the cost. Rent is going to be something that you can consider downsizing into a smaller apartment, but that's something that's probably a little harder to change. You might have to wait until your lease is over. Now let's look at utilities, cell phone, and home internet. So you definitely need to do these things. But what you can actually do is actually try calling them up and just being like,
resume common sense.
Budget right now, like this is
low live below your means. What are your essentials? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to feel like you really don't need for the bigger picture? What are you willing to sacrifice for the bigger picture?
Internet, they may have better deals for you because they would rather retain you as a customer than you potentially leaving to go to competitors. Okay. Sometimes all you have to do is ask. Car payments and insurance, probably harder to decrease as well. But also for groceries, you can potentially decrease the groceries by looking at different stores around you, seeing if you can buy things at different stores and buying things when there's discounts.
Sometimes I go to Food Basics, sometimes I go to Walmart because I know the prices. I know, oh damn,
how much you're paying per ounce.
This particular product is the same, but I know they sell it less. It's the same thing, but I know they sell it less at Walmart.
Or per cycle of laundry. There are so many different types of laundry detergents available.
I'm so good at this shit. I just know.
I'm
just so good at this shit, bro.
Pricing that can help you determine which of these items is actually the cheapest per usage. It may not seem like a big difference, just a few cents difference, but if it's something that you use,
I'm so good. I feel like they're catching on to me.
Implementing some of these
they know like, oh shit, this nigga walks all the way to Walmart because he knows like
This rule is not a hard and fast rule.
I feel like the
You
Walmart
can
people and the
adjust it
food
based
basic
upon
people are
your
talking
situation
like,
and
okay,
things
that
but it is a
just,
really good place to
I
get
don't know.
started. And for you to go through your bank account and audit how much you're actually spending on each of these categories in relationship to your income, after tax income. Now let's talk specifically about why it's so important to save money and what you should be doing with your savings. Saving money is very good.
Okay,
for
this is
three
more
primary
interesting.
reasons.
Okay.
The first one is so that you can save up for an emergency fund. It's
Yes,
generally
sir.
recommended that you maintain 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months meaning the amount of money that you need in order to survive that amount of time. Going back to that previous example, if we've managed to balance our funds so that our needs is $1,500 per month, then at the very minimum, you should have $4,500 saved. And the reason you want to do this is because life happens, shit happens. You might get laid off, you might have a medical emergency, somebody that you're very close with, your friend or your family might have a medical emergency. There's a lot of shit that can happen in life, and you want to make sure that you have the amount of money to cover your basic necessities for at least 3 to 6 months in order for you to get yourself on your feet again. That is the first thing you should be saving for, and you should not be touching this money until you really, really need it. Now, after you save your emergency fund,
This
you
is
can
not
think about
fixed
two other
advice. This
emergencies.
is
The
like
first one is for a bigger
a
purchase,
rule of
like
thumb.
a car or maybe a house, and the second one for investments and saving long term for retirement. These categories are not necessarily completely separate either. Like, for example, if you want to buy a house, that can also be something that you consider to be an investment that you're saving for.
So I personalize this information
create
to
a
you.
separate savings account for each of the things that you're saving for. Like if you want to save for a laptop, a car, and a yacht. I really want a yacht. You can actually create a separate savings account in your bank account. You can usually do this for free with a savings goal for each of these accounts. And when your paycheck comes in, you can actually automatically redirect that money by how much money it is that you're putting into each of these different savings accounts. But speaking of savings accounts, and we'll actually talk more about different types of bank accounts later as well, but it's useful to know that there are different types of saving accounts. You should consider things like the initial deposit requirements, any access restrictions, how often it is that you can take money out, any overdraft fees if you're not maintaining a certain amount.
I don't think this video is gonna teach me a lot for me personally, but it's nice to just fortify and just relearn, just re-see. She's saying a lot of common sense stuff. Like I said, I already know like she was gonna say a rule of thumb like budget like 30%. Yeah, but we're still gonna watch it. No matter you can never skip the basics. Sometimes it's good to relook at the basics, the fundamentals.
Of money, and also interest rates. Interest rates in this context is kind of like the bank giving a reward for you trusting them in holding on to your money. So most savings accounts will give you a certain
I'll say that though. Save, have an emergency fund, nigga. Life does happen. That's what happened to me. Life happened to me, nigga. And boom. You know, you're like, damn.
Of interest. It's usually not that much, be like single digits, like 2-3%. So if you put in $100 and interest rate is 3%, then they will actually give you $3 in interest. Now you have $103 without having to do anything, which is pretty magical. We're not going to talk about inflation yet.
Okay.
Now let's talk about credit. Since this course is based on the US system, there might be like a different scoring system in the country that you're in, but at least in the US and Canada, credit scores are between 300 and 850. If you're in the high 700s to the 800 range, that's considered a really good score, and you can get approval for most loans that you need and lower interest rates. If you're between 600 and 700, that's considered decent. It's not great, but it's also not bad. So you may be paying a little bit higher interest rates. And if you're below 600, that's considered pretty bad, and you might just straight out be not approved for loans, or you just need to pay a really high interest rate. So what exactly is a credit score? A credit score is a measure of how likely you are to pay for things on time. This will include how long you've had credit accounts for, like credit cards or student loans, how much money you owe, whether you make your payments on time.
It's your credibility. That's the easiest way to say. It's your credibility.
It's quite complex how it is.
It's a game.
But overall, it's supposed to represent how trustworthy you are to lend money to. So say you might have a bad credit score.
What's your power level? You're 700. You're 800. Damn.
We'll go through them in a descending order of importance. So the first thing is that you need to pay your bills on time. Your payment history represents 35% of your credit score. So if you have any loans or credit card debts, you should be paying that on time. The second is credit utilization. So this is something that I do know, but when I first learned about it, I was actually really surprised by it. This accounts for 30% of your credit score, and it means the fraction of your credit usage. For example, if you have a credit card limit of $10,000, it's actually best to spend as little of it as possible. Like say if you spend like $100 only, then you have a credit utilization of 1%.
That's crazy.
Really good. That is not to say that you shouldn't have credit cards though. You still want credit cards because you want to show a history of having credit, but you want to show a history of not using that much of it. I know it's sort of weird, but that's how they calculate it. And speaking of credit history, that accounts for 15% of your credit score. The longer the history of data they have on you of good, money habits, then the more confidence people would have on your ability of paying back the loans that you take. And finally, the two last categories account for about 10% each. The first one is the type of credit. It's generally good to have a mix of different types of credit, like between credit cards, maybe like a mortgage, loans, whatever. Like I don't think you should go and like get more debt and like do that intentionally. But that's just if you do, it kind of looks better for you, although it's only like 10%. And the last one is new cards. So there's this concept called an inquiry, and there's like hard inquiry and soft inquiry. Basically, like every time that you open up a new credit card, it would be a hard inquiry. So the lender would be doing a hard inquiry to check your credit report. And every time that they do that kind of inquiry, it actually hurts your credit score. On the other hand, you have something called a soft inquiry. This would be something just like checking your credit score. Or if you're trying to like, rent a house, they might do like a soft inquiry on your credit score. This kind of checking does not impact your credit score and is okay. So generally speaking, try not to get like several different new credit cards all at the same time. Try to like space it out a little bit. Now, another thing that is interesting about credit scores is what doesn't count towards your credit score. And the big one that is very interesting is that income has nothing to do with your credit score. It doesn't matter how much money that you make. It's only about your ability of handling the money that you have in relation to making payments for things, not the size of the payments that you're making. Things like employment has nothing to do with it as well, although if you have an employment, you'll probably be more likely to actually be able to pay back your payments. So don't be an ostrich. If you don't already know your credit score, go check it out using something like Credit Karma or your bank or whatever. And if you have a pretty bad credit score, then make a plan and follow these steps to improve it. There's a lot of free resources out there, like YouTube videos that can teach you how to build up your credit. And just generally speaking, this course is about foundational things. So if you want to like dive deeper into any of this, it's best to actually look at specialized courses where like videos and resources about these topics. Now, before I move on to the next unit, I want to make a note about credit cards. Credit cards are one of those things that are such a double-edged sword, depending on how you use it. On one hand, it's actually good to have a credit card because it can help you build credit, and it's also super convenient. Plus, a lot of them come with really good rewards and cashbacks, especially in the US. I've lived in different places, and all of them usually have some sort of rewards for your credit cards. But in the US, some of them are like insane. Some people use credit card points to have like entire vacations paid for.
Pay your credit, bro. I'm not gonna lie. You don't know how many people are in debt
what could potentially happen
in this society. You don't. I trust me, man. I got people that used to work in. I have friends that used to work in credit like burros.
Have money in your bank account. It's so easy to spend that money.
Your call center like, yo, we see that your thing is dead. They get mad.
And that's when you realize that crazy interest rate starts kicking in. Like, let's look at this credit card.
I feel like people like this country runs in debt.
Where by law, people who are trying to
runs on debt, bro.
Credit card, they have to show this to you. When things are going good and you're making back your payments on time every single month, everything is great. You're getting your cash back, your rewards, all these good things. But when you start missing payments and start accumulating debt, this is when the scary things like annual percentage rate APR starts kicking in. So say if you have like $100 and your APR is like 20, and you're potentially paying up to 28.99% of the debt that you owe just on interest alone. So if you already can't pay back your initial amount of money and you have so much interest building up on that as well, and it's very quickly that you're digging yourself a very deep hole of credit card debt. Unfortunately, I actually know quite a few people have found themselves in that situation extremely quickly. Other things on the streamer's box include like APR for transfers. If you're getting cash advances, that's even worse. Just don't do it. If you're taking cash that you already don't have and you're getting from a credit card, just bad idea. Don't do it. And yeah, there's like penalties. It also shows a grace period. So this is the amount of time that you have, in this case 28 days, before you need to start paying back the amount that you have on your credit card. So that's why you should always be paying back the full amount when you have a credit card, so you don't have to pay any of these interest rates. We'll also be able to benefit from building out your credit and also all of the perks and like rewards and things like that. This course also goes through a lot of different types of credit cards and how it is that you can compare credit cards. So if this is something that you're interested in, I actually recommend that you check out this unit from the course. By the way, all Khan Academy courses are free, which is amazing. Long story short, credit cards are great if you're responsible and you can actually pay things back. If you don't, just don't do it, or look into specific special credit cards for people who are trying to build up their credit. Now let's do a money personality quiz.
If you lose your job, if you do anything, bro, I'm gonna lie. The first thing you do, pay that credit back, bro. I don't care.
And
I
answer each of these
up.
5 questions.
That's why I fucked up. I'm not gonna lie.
So for each of these questions, give yourself the following points for each answer. So when you answer A to something, give yourself 1 point. If you answer B, give yourself 4 points. C, give yourself 5 points. And D, give yourself 2 points. Now, if your range is between 5 to 9 points, then your personality is a spender type. This means that you're someone who enjoys spending money. You're kind of like a live in a moment kind of person. You may have trouble saving and planning for the future, and you might struggle with debt or impulse buying. If you have between 10 to 14 points, then you're called a balancer. This means that you're pretty good at managing your money and making good decisions, but you're also prone to indecision and stress. So you may be missing out on some good opportunities because you're being very cautious. If you have between 15 and 19 points, you're considered a saver. This means you're excellent at saving money and reaching your financial goals, but it also means that you may be too frugal and too rigid. You may be neglecting some of your own wants and needs just in order to save more, and you may have trouble sharing your money with other people. And finally, if you're from 20 to 25 points, you're considered an investor. You are savvy and you're strategic with your money, and you really seek to grow your wealth and to have a positive impact. Generally, you're very adventurous and you're willing to take risks, but sometimes you may be a little too optimistic and ignore some of your basic needs.
Which one are you guys?
What you got. So for me, I got 12 points, which makes me a balancer. My strengths are that I maintain a balance between saving, spending, and investing. So it says the characteristics are you're good at managing your money and making smart decisions, but you may also be prone to stress or indecision. You may miss out on some opportunities or experiences because of your cautiousness. That actually fits me really, really well. I feel like I got so scared of certain like scams that people taught me about and warned me about, to the point where I just kind of like assume everything might be a scam. So I'm definitely like a pretty overly cautious kind of person, and definitely I get like stressed or indecisive, so I just end up like not probably taking advantage of many opportunities that I have. And I also put on screen now the tips for the different money personalities. For me, I already know my strengths is being able to balance between these things, and challenges is it's hard to stay consistently in the middle. So specific tips would include treating yourself occasionally to enjoy your money, staying open to new money making opportunities, seeking advice but trusting your instincts, and celebrating your financial successes. So obviously this is not like all encompassing, but I think it's useful to take some of these tips and start incorporating them into your financial goals, which is what we're going to talk about next. The course recommends that you use SMART goals. I might have heard of that acronym before. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. For example, a not SMART goal is I want to be rich. Like, what does that even mean, right? On the other hand, a SMART goal would be something like, by the time I am 30 years old, I want to put down a down payment for $100,000 to buy a house. It's specific because you want to buy a house. It's measurable because it's $100,000. It's achievable in the sense that it is not impossible to do, and it's realistic. Well, it could be realistic depending on your life situation, but assuming that you have a job that can allow you to do that, and you have like 5 years until you're 30.
I think what she's saying is, how does the finish line look for you?
When you set these kind of goals, you can actually start making plans to achieve them.
You're going somewhere, but where are you going?
Think about them in terms
where are you
of
going?
Goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals.
You're saving, but saving for what?
Going to be less than a year.
What are you saving for?
Include things like saving up for an emergency fund, buying a new phone, buying a new laptop, or paying off a small debt.
Is it for freedom?
Goal would be something like, I want to save up $2,000 to buy myself a new laptop in 3 months. The general strategy for short-term goals is simply to take that out of your income as part of your budget and then save that into a bank account, or like a piggy bank or money jar if you prefer. A medium-term goal is something that is between a year to 5 years long. This would include things like buying a car, saving up for college, buying a house. A smart medium-term goal could be like the example we used before.
For me, it's freedom.
I want to have $100,000 down payment to be able to buy a house by the time I turn 30.
Not be affected by the system.
In addition to just having that as part of your budget and you're saving that money, you might also want to consider some low-risk investments, since that money is probably going to be locked up for at least like a year to 5 years. This could be something just like a high-yield savings account, or maybe something with a fixed-term interest rate. We'll talk more about investment vehicles.
You get 5K in passive income. I'm happy, nigga. 5K in passive. I'm happy, nigga. I'm glad. That's a good first step. I don't need too much right now.
Long-term goals that will probably take you 5 years and more to achieve. This will include things like saving for retirement, leaving a legacy. Depending on your age and financial situation, buying a house could maybe be...
If I can get to a spot where I don't have to work and I can just focus on learning and getting better, like the whole learning process, priming and coding and then recalling and just applying the knowledge and doing something with that knowledge, I don't have to worry about, I have a job, I have a I'd be blessed, nigga. I don't even need that much. I just need freedom. I need time. So right now I'm just, this is my tool for paying for time. I'm learning. Yeah.
More of a long-term goal.
So what is your goal? What is your specific goal?
Like,
for your life, personalize it to you.
10 years. So I want to have saved up around $5 million in the next 10 years so that I can work part-time and be able to travel wherever I want. This is when you should also really consider investing that money to grow your wealth in things like stocks and bonds. Most countries also have specific retirement accounts that can give you tax benefits as well, which we will also talk about later in the video. Now, after you create your SMART goals, then you want to come up with a financial plan to achieve them. And there are 4 different components for a financial plan. The first one is a budget. And there's a lot of spreadsheets out there. There's a lot of different apps you can use in order to determine how much money is coming in and what's the plan to achieving your financial goals. Then you need a savings plan, which is specific to what it is that you're saving for, how much money you want to be saving for all of your different goals. This will help you prioritize your goals, allocate your income, and build up your savings. Third is a debt repayment plan. If you have debt, this is something that is really important. You want to be looking at all of the debt that you currently have and come up with a plan in order to repay these.
I think for me, it's like 2K. I got 2K. I'm 2K in debt.
Really great free resources.
I don't mind telling y'all, I just want to be as a thing. I'm like 2K in debt or something.
And fourth is an investment plan. This is a plan for how much money you want to be investing from your savings. Remember, your savings is divided
around like 2K, yo.
On your different financial goals, right? But you want to specifically,
which is not too much, but like I said,
side of things. This is
that shit. Interest compounds, nigga. 2K might become like 5K and not okay. 5K is crazy. 2K is for me is cause I know I'm a hard worker. I see money. You know what I mean, I guess the way, how can I say this? How you see money is relative. How you feel about money is relative. It grew. I remember when I was young, bro. $1 was a lot of. I swear, like $1 was a lot of money, bro. You're trying to find 25 cents. You're trying to go to Smoke and Gift and buy a freezy. You go close to Food Basics, see if anybody left 25 cents in the carts, so you can just buy a freezy. That was a lot of money for me. Now I kind of seen money. I see in my account, like, literally hit my goals. Oh, damn. I hit 3 figures? That's crazy. I never see my account hit 3 figures. Before it was only, I never seen I never seen your account hit $100. I finally have $100 in my account. Like, literally, bro. That's how humble I was. Like, damn, I got $100 in shit. I never seen that. And then you hit 1K. I'm like, damn, I never seen that many zeros in my account. My nigga, like 1K. And then you get better work. He's like, okay, your turn, it gets bigger. It gets bigger. You're saving that money. Oh, now you're seeing 5K. Damn. Like, you feel safe when you see that shit. You feel good, nigga. You like, damn. But like I said, 2K for me is relatively. It's not a lot because I feel like I can pay it back, but at the same time, it still is a lot when you're broke. So, depending on your situation, that can be a lot. So it's contextual. Money really is contextual. That's what I'm saying. Maybe you don't even need $1 million to make you happy. That's just my current goal. And money for the sake of money, you won't get happy. You can't just get money for the sake of money. You gotta have a particular goal. Like I said, is it freedom? Like you told, is it freedom? Is it what? You want a car? You want to buy this? Wealth? Like, what is your goal? What does your finish line look like?
Is where you determine where it is that you want to be investing your money in order to achieve longer term goals like retirement. Again, there are a lot of really great resources out there that can help you come up with an investment plan as well. Just ask ChatGPT or look it up on Google. Even though the course doesn't go into a lot of detail about each of these plans, I think it is really helpful.
Again, a lot of this is common sense to me.
You realize that you need to set financial goals.
This is common sense. It's not stupid, but it's common sense. Like, it's so simple, but if you don't follow those, bro, it can fuck you up. That's all I can say. It's simple, but if you don't follow the fundamentals, it can fuck you up. It can really fuck you up. When I say, if you hold the fundamentals, you're good in life. You're really good. It's not that hard. It's really go pay it back. But I get it. Like, life happens sometimes, nigga. It's your habits. Oh, I wanna Uber Eat. I don't got money, fam. I'm craving this. I'm craving some. Fuck, let me use my credit this one time. Let me use my credit for one time. I swear I'm gonna pay it back. I swear I'm gonna pay. You don't pay it back and shit. It's stupid. Like I said, I've been through the stupidity, bro. I feel it. I feel it. So I'm just like, but at the same time, it's like, don't underestimate. Like, never. I did those things out of weakness. It was a weakness time. Life just happened. I'm like, fuck. But I'm glad. Like I said, it's 2K, nigga. For me, I'm like, I'm not doing no more. At least could have been worse. I know a lot of people with more, nigga, more. But like I said, it's not comparing. I'm not comparing. It's just, where are you at? You may have 10K in debt and shit like that, bro. I personally just don't like that. I can't. I'm an entrepreneur. I'd rather build capital myself than take a risk with other people's money. I like to take a risk with my money, not other people's money.
What is that you need in order to achieve your financial goals. Okay, so final part of this unit is calculating your net worth. Probably heard about this term a lot, people's net worths. So net worth is very simply just assets.
You'll be talking like, oh, we're rich.
For assets,
we have a home.
$500,000
we have a home equity. I'm like, nigga, I'm not touching that, bro.
Jewelry that's worth like $5,000.
That's not my money. You don't gotta pay that shit back, right? Some people are in the loop of debt. Let me an example. Like, let me say I have a 2K credit card. Boom, I don't pay that back. I'm gonna get another credit card that's bigger to pay off the 2K credit card. But I still gotta pay that 2K. It's just the deadline is you're just pushing the deadline. That's what you're doing. You're just pushing the deadline to a point where you can't push it anymore. Some people do that.
And your total amount of assets is $555,000. Now, on your liabilities, you could have a $400,000 mortgage on your $500,000 house, $40,000 in car loans,
Okay.
which is also a lot of loans, $15,000 of credit card debt, and $50,000 of student loans. And that works out to be $505,000. So assets minus liabilities, $555,000 minus $505,000. That means your net worth is $50,000. This may not seem like a lot, but believe it or not, a lot of people actually have negative net worth, which honestly is okay when you're younger, because you're going to school and accumulating debt from that probably. But as you get older, you do want that number to start becoming positive. So if you don't know your net worth, you should calculate that. All right, let's now do our first little assessment. I will put on screen now these questions. Feel free to answer them in your head, but even better, actually write it down and put it in the comments. This will help you retain this information.
Minus 2K. I'm telling you all this so you guys don't make excuses. Cause when I make money, you see like, oh, nigga, minus 2K, nigga, my net worth, I make it look good. It's minus 2K, nigga. I don't mind. I'm just being honest with y'all. Like, so y'all don't make excuses. When I get this shit out of here, I go, minus 2K and I still don't work. This is how much. I still don't work. It's crazy, eh? You know what I'm saying? I'm an alien mastermind, nigga. I understand this shit.
Now, let's move on to loans and debt. When I didn't really know that much about loans, whenever I hear that word, I kind of have like this adverse reaction to it. And I think the reason is because growing up, I heard so many stories of people taking out loans and then just, having like a lot of issues and going bankrupt and things in life. So it's almost like I just view the idea of loans and debt as something that's just like bad. Like I should stay away from that. But after a little bit of unlearning, I realized that the idea of loans and debt is not actually a bad thing. It's really just about how you use it. Unfortunately, the stories that we hear is often of people who use it poorly, or you may have a completely different reaction to when you hear the word loan. So whatever it is, I think it is really helpful to really understand how loans work. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this section. But let's first define loan. So when we say that we're taking out a loan, we're using credit. What we mean is that we're borrowing money from somebody else. That could be like a friend, family, or third-party institutions like a bank. The agreement is that they lend you the money and you will pay that back to them in the future, probably with some money added on top as well in the form of interest or fees.
Loans is good if you know how to use leverage.
Interest is generally a percentage that is based upon how much money that you're borrowing, which you're going to be paying back through a period of time. For example, we borrow $100 and you're paying back $110 in 1 year. That means the interest rate is 10%. Fees are another cost, and there could be like a variety of different kinds of fees associated with borrowing that money. Loans can be extremely useful if you need to purchase something which you don't have the money or you don't necessarily want to spend the money on right now. This could be things like buying a house, going to college, investing in education, or in case, God forbid, there's an emergency that you need to deal with. But not all loans are created equal. There are different terms and requirements, and the biggest difference between them is generally in the interest rate. Some loans have higher interest rates and some loans have lower interest rates. If you think about it from a lender's perspective, they will probably charge you a higher interest rate for something that has more risk towards them. We'll go back to this and talk about different types of loans in just a bit. But first, I want to talk about how to get a loan. So this course is very US centric, so I'm going to try to generalize these terminologies and concepts in a way that everybody can understand. But if you want to have like more specific terms, if you are based in the US, I actually really encourage you to go through this section of the course, which I will link below. So when you want to get a loan and you go to a bank, for example, and you're like, I would like to have a loan, please. Generally, they will ask you for a variety of information to determine how risky it is to loan something to you. In other words, how likely are you to actually pay back that money? They will consider things like your income level, your job history, how long you had a job for. Do you tend to switch your jobs a lot? What's your credit score? Your debt to income ratio, which is how much debt you have in relation to the income that you're bringing in. The higher the debt to income ratio, the more risky it is. For some types of loans, they would also consider something called a collateral, which is something of value in which if you decide to like not pay back that money for some reason, the bank can take back to repay that loan. For example, if you can't repay your house loan, then the bank gets to take your house. Okay, so let's now go back to the type of loans that are available. The first type is called an installment credit. This is when you borrow generally a pretty large sum of money and you need to pay that money back by installments, usually on a monthly basis. For example, if you buy a car or you buy a house, then you're paying back a certain amount of fixed money every single month. The second type is a revolving credit, and the best example
that's what a mortgage is. It's like a big ass loan
in terms of how much money you could borrow up to, but you can borrow different amounts, and as long as you pay back some of that money, you can keep borrowing up to that amount. For example, if your credit card has a limit of $1,000, you could buy something for $50 and you still have $995 left that you can borrow until you pay some of it back. As you can see, a revolving credit can get pretty risky and dangerous pretty quickly. One of the worst possible loans you can get, which is a revolving credit loan, is payday loans. You're basically taking out credit on the payment that you haven't even received yet, and you can do this like over and over again. But I'm not just saying that revolving credits are bad. There's really pros and cons for both installment based and revolving credit. Revolving credit, even though it can be risky and costly, it is very convenient, and when used smartly, like if you actually pay back your credit cards on time, you can take advantage of lots of rewards, and you can use it to improve your credit scores over time. Installment credit, on the other hand, is a lot less risky.
Don't worry about the terms. Don't worry about all the terms. Realize what's the behavior of it, and does it apply? Personalize it to you. Like I keep saying, personalize it to you. Don't worry about revolving credit. Is this? What is the behavior? Okay, I know why. It's common sense. I know this is not my money. I'm borrowing money from you. So how does it work for you? If I'm getting this credit, how does it work with you? What's your personality? I look at it as a person. Okay, this is a revolving credit. So, okay, this is how you work. So I can, okay, it's risky if you're that type of person, but if it's personalized to you and it works for you, it's not risky because you know the ins and outs of it, you know the behavior of the person, you know what to expect. Once you know what to expect, can it work for me or can it work against me? That's what it is. Can it work with me or can it work against me? It's understanding, it's personalizing it to you. I personally don't like loans because, like I said, I like to use my money, but I might get in the future. Like, I'm when watching a lot of Alex Ramosi. It's like it can help you speed up the process in a sense. If I know right now I don't have the money, but I know right now if I want to hire a new employee, and I know if I hire this employee, it's going to let me get another example. A machine, you know this machine, I can buy a machine, you don't have the money yet, but you know this machine is going to 10 extra revenue. I don't have the money right now. Okay, let me ask the bank for some money. It's going to 10x my revenue. I get the machine, 10x it. Boom, I just pay that nigga back quickly. I didn't lose no money, but that's good debt. That's good. Oh, how can I say an example to me? Long McCade. This instruments you can go on if you have a credit card, you can pay in increments. Let's say right now I'm a business. I need this machine. I need my mixer, my Personas 32X, my nigga. My Studio Live. I need that, I need the equipment to do my business. Like I said, you have to have a plan. You have to be concrete. It has to be concrete. But it allows you to get things faster so you don't have to wait. Because if you don't have a loan and you got credit, it's like you have to wait till I get your money. Like you have to wait till like maybe you have a business. It's like, okay, now I have enough money to do it. Or it's like you already have a business, you're trying to open a second location. The business is going well. You have how can I say this? You have momentum. Your brand is going good. You're like, you know what, I can get more money if I open a second location. But right now we already opened a first location. We already opened the first location. We're still re-upping. We know in this amount of time we're gonna break even with with opening the first location. Boom. We might lose money at first, but then we know it's stabilizing. I don't know if I'm getting too deep. I mean, this is a simple thing. I'm getting too deep, but it's like it's common. Like I said, just common sense a little bit. I'm getting way too deep. But it's just understanding how it works for you. Understand your situation. How can this help me? It's really that. It's really that simple. Don't worry about this is a type. I have to understand all that. No, it's what are my options? Okay, what are my options? And what options work more for me?
And that's actually also why it has a much lower interest rate in comparison to revolving credit. But it can also be rigid and limiting. If you've ever heard someone say that they have to refinance their mortgage, because their mortgage is in installments, so they have to physically go and change the way that they're financing it, and then go through this entire process.
I did not know that first.
Also incurring
it's
fees.
True. It's instant. Like every 4 years, it might change and shit. You might lock in, or you might do variable. Usually, when you do variable, it's less cheaper. It's cheaper, but when you lock that shit in, it's safer. And I thought, I didn't know mortgages work like that, bro. I thought it was just like I said, bro. But anyways.
Right. And if you really need money fast, you also can't really use installment credit because it takes such a long process to actually get it. Revolving credit will be much easier to do. I've been using interest rate a few times now. The interest rate when it comes to loans is generally described as an APR, annual percentage rate. It's the total interest and fees in a year divided by an average balance owed. And you'll see this number everywhere. It is like a standardized way for you to be able to compare between different loans that you're taking. And just for reference, here are some different types of loans and their APRs expressed as a...
Telling you, Birdie. Interest rate was a lot cheaper back in the day, bro. We had to, like I said, refinance. We had to get a new contract, and the interest rate. We're shopping for interest rates. I'm just like, bro, this shit expensive. Before you couldn't. Sorry, I have to look back at my notes, but before it was like 3%. I think we were paying 3% on the mortgages, like on the shit, and the home equity line of credit, and it was cheaper. And then we were like, okay, it's almost over. The contract is almost over, so we gotta get a new one. And we're looking at the new, and we're just like, damn. Like, they give you options. They really give you options, and I'm like, damn. They upped it, bro. They really upped it, bro.
As you can see, something like payday loans is freaking crazy at 300% to 800%. And this is, of course, based upon the United States. So long story short, loans are not necessarily a bad thing, and debt is not necessarily a bad thing either. The course explains that there really is a concept of good debt versus bad debt. A good debt is taking out a loan as an investment for the future. This could be things like starting a business, investing in a home.
That's why I feel it's kind of finesse. My bad. I keep cutting. It's like, I thought for mortgages, this was my thoughts before. I thought it was like, okay, you buy a house. Yay. You're lucky. You bought a house young. And now you can lock it in at this interest rate. And now you keep paying that interest, for until you're finished paying. It's not that, birdie. It's really not that. It's, nigga, we gonna lock you in for this amount of time. And after that, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna go shop again. You gotta shop again, okay? I'm like, damn, that's kind of like, that's weird. You know what I mean? It's like you're forcing us to keep up with the, like whatever you. Sorry, man. Anyways, bro, shit pisses me off. I get too passionate about shit like this.
That you actually do the research properly. These are all things that are meant to increase your quality of life and bring you more wealth in the future. And you should be.
Basically, it's really not to your own interest. The shit is not set up. The more you learn, the more you like, okay, this shit is not set up for your own interests at all.
Able to pay back that loan easily. Bad debt is also unfortunately definitely.
One more thing, you keep asking, then you ask quite like, be comfortable being the person that blows the less in the room. You know why? Because you ask questions. Once you understand, you ask questions, you get to gauge other people. And I started gauging. I'm like, okay, so bank people actually do not know as much as I thought they knew. When you sit around in the bank and you think all these people are specialized, no, they do not. They do not understand certain things. I'm like, who decides what percentage? Who decides what percentage? Like, why are we? These are the amounts. Like, who decides that shit, bro? Who decides that shit? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I can't. Like, I'm forced to choose between these options. I'm forced to. I can't say no. I want to pay less. I can't. Even this, bro. Let's say I want to pay the full amount. Let's say I want to pay my mortgages. There's a limit to let me pay the whole thing. No, you can only pay 10,000 at a time. 10,000 a year. I'm like, nigga, what? Why can I only pay 10,000 a year? I just want to pay everything off. Maybe it's only for TD. Maybe it's only for TD. But this is what I'm understanding from it is, okay, let me just pay everything off. The mortgage, everything. Like, nah, you can only pay 10,000. I'm like, okay, so why the hell do you want us to be locked in? Are you just trying to keep us in a loop or something, and this helping you is like reoccurring revenue for you guys or something like that? That's how my mind works. You just, please comment, tell me if I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Like, these are, like I said, bro, I get passionate about shit like that. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Really
is it set up in that way?
These are the horror stories that you generally hear of, like people taking out payday loans, personal lines of credit, drowning in credit card debt. Bad debt is anything that is weakening your financial stability. When you spend money that you don't have on something that isn't actually going to bring you more wealth in the future.
Value, leverage.
What's your relationship with loans and debt? Do you kind of have a negative connotation towards it out of fear? Is it something that you're just oh, whatever, and then you have maybe issues with spending and potentially are in debt because of reckless spending? Or do you feel like you're able to use credit and loans and debt responsibly? I really want to know where you stand. Okay, so before I end this unit, I do want to touch on the fact that if you do happen to have a lot of debt, it is something that you should definitely be prioritizing over everything else right now. The course briefly talks about two different approaches called the high rate approach and the snowball effect. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this right now, but I really recommend that you check it out. And then also just
to resume, to me, when I learned is debt. Good debt is basically you're just advancing things that would have happened regardless. I know I'm gonna get there, but let me just speed it up with the debt so I can speed up the process. It's like I get reoccurring revenue every month. I get a reoccurring revenue every year. It's safe, and I know I'm gonna get there. There's but it's like, okay, that is gonna help you speed up that process. If you know you're not getting no you know your shit is not stable. You don't know if you might pay that back or not. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit at all. That credit is just to speed up the process.
There's a lot of free resources out there that can help you come up with a debt repayment plan. Now, let's talk about insurance. So I actually didn't know that much about insurance before taking this course. And like
I said, easy metaphor. Candy it's like for kids. Candy, I want candy right now, nigga. The candy is $10. I know I don't have $10 right now, but I know every end of the month I get $20. My dad gives me $20. My mother gives me $20 every month. Right now I have $0 and I want candy right now. You can wait to the end of the month till your mom gives you or your dad, whatever, how you get that $20 to get that candy, or you can be like, nigga, I'm gonna use that credit. Get that candy right now, and boom, and I know like $20 coming, so I'm gonna give that 20. Before the end of the month comes, I'm gonna pay you back. That's good credit, in a sense, in the most simplistic way, even a third grader can understand. A bad credit is, nigga, I don't know if I'm getting $20 at the end of the month. You know what I'm saying? Let me just pay that. I just want that shit right now, nigga. I can't wait. I don't have delayed gratification. I want that shit right now, and I'm taking a risk. Good credit, man. You have a plan.
First initial reaction is that, wow, I did not realize that so many bad things could possibly happen.
And there's different ways of talking about it. Like, nigga, or imagine you do have the money, but I don't want to use my money, nigga. I want to use your money to do something, which is credit. I'm going to use the bank's money to do something. If I lose that shit, I'm losing the bank's money, not my money.
And there's so many different types of insurances that could cover to so many bad things that are happening. But in all honesty, though, I'm really glad.
But we're not trying to complicate too much.
It's just not a topic that I would naturally, look up by myself, because I don't want to think about bad things happening. Like most people don't. But the truth is that bad things are happening all the time. Even if you're just minding your own business, you could potentially get laid off. You could have a medical issue.
Yep.
You could have
some
issue happen with any of your family and friends. God
forbid,
you could die. So it is actually important to mitigate those risks. There are two approaches that you can manage financial risk. The first one is just to avoid risk, and the second is to transfer risk to someone else. In the case of a car accident, you can try to avoid this risk by driving safely and not texting and driving or drinking and driving. You can also save up some money so you can fix your car relatively quickly in case something happens, and you wouldn't have the risk of not having a car to drive. In addition to this, you can also transfer some of that risk to somebody else by purchasing liability insurance from an insurance company. In this way, if you get into a car accident and it's your fault, you, instead of having to pay for damage that you've done, because you have insurance, that insurance will cover that amount. So you see, the key to managing financial risk involves both avoiding risk and potentially transferring that risk to someone else by purchasing insurance. So hopefully that's insurance fits in.
Let me use the bank's money. Let me not use my money. Let me use the bank's money. Let me take that risk with the bank's money.
Medical insurance, especially if you're in the US. I learned this the hard way when I broke my foot and I did not have insurance. Property insurance in case you own a property, or even if you're leasing a property. Car insurance, there's life insurance in case you die. I'm not going to go into too much detail about all the different types of insurances, but definitely if you're interested, do some of your own research. But before I end this section, I do want to define some of the key terminologies that is used in the insurance world. The key participants include the insured, which is the policyholder. It's you if you're buying it for yourself. It's somebody else if you're buying it for somebody else. The insurer, the company providing the coverage, so the insurance company. The agent, so there's usually a third party that helps you purchase that policy. And the underwriter, the people who assess the risk and set what the premiums are. The premium means the payment that is needed to keep the coverage active. So how much money you have to be paying to have that insurance. Sometimes there's deductibles, which is the amount that you need to pay out of pocket before an insurance kicks in. Like, say for example, your deductible is like $1,000 in 1 year. That means that anything that happens within that year, you go to a doctor, you do all these things. If it's up to $1,000, you need to pay that out of pocket, but the insurance will kick in after you've spent $1,000 of your own money. There's also something called copay. So sometimes when you visit a specialist office, you have to pay a certain amount in addition to the insurance paying the rest of the amount. So if your copay is like $20 to see a dermatologist, so you,
like I said, best way to look at this as not as look at this as a human being, like as a person. What is his behavior? This person, oh damn, before this person helps me, I gotta pay $1,000. For me, I don't mind, nigga. I don't mind, like I said, but let's look at it as behavior. What behavior? suits you better? Who do you want to associate yourself with? There's different, characters. What character do you like better? Like a video game. What character do you like better?
You'll pay $20 and your insurance will cover the rest of the visit. There's often also a policy limit, which is the maximum the insurer will pay for the claim. Your home insurance could have a policy limit of $400,000 when it comes to fire damage. A claim is a formal request for coverage. So if something happens, you put in a claim for coverage. And finally, the benefit is the payment that insurer will pay to cover whatever it is that the claim is. It's best to use insurance as a backup. It's not something that you should be like, oh, it's because I have insurance, I can just do whatever I want now. And it's definitely not something that you should be thinking like, oh, I can make money from my insurance. It's for reducing financial impact. And the best time to think about getting insurance is when you don't actually need that insurance yet, which is always the little tricky part. You want to be getting your insurance before you get sick, before your house burns down, before you die. Let's talk about investments and retirement now. There are two friends called Miguel and Jasmine. Miguel and Jasmine both started working at Widget Corp at the same time. And during the onboarding, they were asked to sign a lot of different forms. A lot of them with health insurance forms because they're from the US. So there's health insurance, dental insurance, and retirement. So Miguel decides to save $25 per month to put inside his retirement fund. But Jasmine just goes like, future Jasmine problem. So Miguel kept on contributing $25 to his retirement account per month, while Jasmine contributed $0. Now 10 years has passed. And really Miguel has mostly forgotten about the $25 that he's been contributing because it's just been directly being taken out of his paycheck.
Yep.
But Jasmine at this point goes like, I should probably think about retirement. So she starts contributing as well. But since she has more disposable income now, she decided to put in $50 per month. So double the amount Miguel puts in. Then another 30 years passes. Lots of things happen. And finally, Miguel and Jasmine also decide that they are going to retire. Now let's take a look at their retirement accounts.
Let's
Guess
go.
who
I'm
has more
interested.
money? Well, if you guess Jasmine, you are incorrect. That would be Miguel. Miguel has $168,000, while Jasmine only has $147,000. So even though Miguel only contributed $25 and never increased his contribution, Miguel contributed $25 for 40 years, while Jasmine contributed $0 for the first 10 years and then $50 for the next 30 years. So even though Jasmine contributed twice the amount that Miguel did, and for 30 years, she still ended up with less. And that is thanks to what is considered the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. So even though Miguel was contributing less money, his money was working for him all of those 10 years, and it kept on compounding on top of each other. So even though Miguel contributed less overall, that first 10 years really started adding up. And before he even knew it, he had increased his nest egg significantly. This is the reason why people keep saying that you should invest early. Even if it's just a few dollars, that number will keep adding onto itself. The general idea is
I
that
keep
the earlier
saying
you
this.
start saving,
Why
the
are they
better
not
it is.
teaching
Remember the
this
20%
at
we talked about in the
school?
budgeting section?
If
The
you can
20%
start
you
at
allocate
20,
to savings? Let's not talk about more in
19, how
detail.
much money would you get at
50,
25, nigga?
savings.
How
So
much
first,
money
let's
would
make
you
a
get at
distinction
30?
between saving and investing. These are two terms that get confused a lot. I mean, even on our budget sheet, we just call the entire things savings, right? But they're actually different. Saving means storing your money
Basically, what
safely,
she's saying
having
is
easy
just
access.
start. Just start. That's the best way. That's even if in the future you get a good paying job, that's even blessed, but at least you started. At least you started, nigga. If you pay $25 and boom, you get a good job. Like I said, 25, you know what? Let me add a little $5, to it. Like now you're paying 30, or just like, you know what? I'm still gonna pay 25, but let me add $1,000. Just no. Why not? I got $1,000 just sitting there. Let me just put $1,000 in that bitch. Let me keep going. I mean, it's mindset. Man, that shit pissed me off, bro. I'm pissed off because I'm like, why have I not been taught this earlier, bro? Why have I not been? You know where I'd be right now, nigga?
And having very low risk, potentially, hopefully,
You think being broke is fun,
well,
nigga?
but mostly just not losing money is called saving. And these savings are useful for your emergency fund in case there's emergencies, and also for short-term goals. Remember those SMART goals we talked about? The short-term SMART goals. Now, technically, you can't save your money by just stuffing it under your mattress and hiding it in your closet, but it's generally not that great because it is not convenient to you. Somebody could just steal all of it. There's a lot of cash just lying around. It gets very, very confusing, and you have absolutely zero growth on that money, assuming you don't lose it yourself. People generally save their money by putting it in a bank account. It can be like a regular bank account, or there are types of special savings accounts where if you put a certain amount of money for a certain period of time, you're able to have higher interest rates for it. In the US, this is called a certificate of deposit. It's called other things in other places, but the concept should be in your country as well. On the other hand, investing
The
is
bank
idea
likes you
of
if you have
putting
money,
with
that's
the
all.
intention for the money to grow over time. This is when you put money into assets like stocks or bonds or mutual funds.
If they think
By
you have
investing,
money,
you're
they'll
essentially
treat you
higher
well.
risk with the hope of
If you don't have money,
potentially
nigga,
having
then
lower returns.
customer
The money
service
itself
is
generally less liquid, and you
trash.
can't take it out as quickly
You have
as
to
you
wait
could
in
from
line
your
for
savings
2
account,
hours.
and it's usually useful for medium to longer term goals. So I'm going to talk more specifically about investments in just a bit, but first I'm going to quickly walk.
How do I know this? Because like I said, I know both sides, nigga. I used to have money. Boom. I'm being treated well, nigga. down. It's like these niggas never knew me or something like that, bro. I'm just like, damn, I've been with you niggas. And that applies everywhere.
Through this framework for how to think about your savings and investments, which I think is really helpful. So number one is that you need to create a budget. So you're tracking your income and you're taking that 20% that you're going to be using for savings and investment. Then the first goal is a savings goal, and that is to establish an emergency fund. You want to save at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses in a bank account, and don't touch it unless you actually have an emergency. Step 3 is to set clear financial smart goals for the short term, medium term, and the long term. And you want to decide whether saving or investing is the best way to achieve them. Remember, for short term goals, generally there are saving goals, while for medium and long term goals, you can have portions of investment goals. Now, specifically for investment, step number 4 is to diversify your investments. Don't put your money into one type of investment. Instead, try to spread them out across different types of assets to reduce your risk. And step number 5 is to review and to adjust. Check your progress regularly and adjust it as needed in order to make sure you're achieving your financial goals. I think this 5-step framework is super helpful because there's just like so many things that you're supposed to be doing. But it's basically telling you that these are your list of priorities that you should be doing. So if you don't know what to do, start with that. Okay, let's now talk about investments specifically.
There we go. This is where I personally am interested in. These other stuff is common sense. The fundamentals. This is usually shit you're gonna learn in your 20s when you get your first credit card. Common sense. But the fundamentals is very important to understand. The fundamentals, if you don't do it right, it's gonna fuck you up. It's simple, but if you don't follow it, it's gonna fuck you up. It's easy, like it's like easy to fuck up on a credit card because it's there. It's just there. It's money there, and you kind of think like, oh, let me just spend that, and I'm gonna pay. You think like something might happen. Like I said, bro, it's easy to fuck up on a credit card. It's like simple, but once you get in the day, you just like there's just money sitting there. It's like, I don't mind, not. Don't let those bad habits win. That's what I'm gonna say. But this is where specifically I'm interested in. Right here. Credit, I'll say how to build your credit back or how to fix it. That's for me I'm personalizing it to me because this is a study session. I'm personalizing. I hope you guys are personalizing it to you. I have to learn about how to rebuild, because I know my credit right now kind of fucked up a little bit, even though I'm at the point where they can take anything. They won't take anything. Nigga, if you take anything, 2K is not a lot of money, fam. It's really not enough money for you to like repossess something. It really is, you know what I mean? So in that sense, I'm blessed, but I know if I don't do anything, it's gonna annual boom boom boom. It's gonna phew, 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 phew. That's the trap. That's the trap. When you wait too long, it's gonna phew, compound interest. When she said compound interest, she said compound interest for like in a positive way, but compound interest can work against you too, especially for credit, bro. It can work against you. You know what I mean? Like you just interest just piling. You just not in that sense, okay? But it's like interest, like I said, bro. It's like throwing a rock. Like, it piles up. You think it's not enough, but boom. The year goes and you realize, okay, in the contract in your credit card is like, okay, every year if you don't do that, you have to pay this amount of interest, and that power, and it just hits you, bro. I'm not gonna lie, nigga. I seen that shit, bro. I hope it doesn't happen to me, but
relationship between risk and reward. Generally, the greater the risk of an investment, the greater the potential reward is as well, but also the potential for loss. A simple way of categorizing different types of investments, because there are so many different types of investments, is into 3 major categories. Okay. The first one is a low risk and a low return category. These are things like money markets, treasury bills, and bonds. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what exactly these types of investments are, and the course itself also doesn't go into too much detail about it, but if you're interested, definitely look up these specific terms.
Not a lot of risk.
Low risk, low return.
You're not getting a lot back.
Interest rate for, but these are just things that if you invest in, they're very safe investments. So likelihood of you losing your money is extremely low, but the amount of money that you get from interest rate is also quite low. The second type is moderate risk and moderate return. These are things like mutual funds and index funds. And the third type is high risk and high return. These are things that are risky and volatile. Things like single stocks, cryptocurrencies, and commodities. So to just kind of give you an idea for what these return percentages are looking like, I'm sure many of you have heard about this suggestion when people just tell you like, oh, if you have like money set aside for investment, just invest in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is a stock market index that tracks the largest 500 US companies. This falls into the category of moderate risk and moderate return. And historically, the S&P 500 have been returning around 10% annually, and adjusted for inflation, that's around 6 to 7%. Just to give you an idea of what these numbers are looking like. In any case, the general philosophy
10%
of investing
annually,
is that
nigga.
you need to understand the amount of risk that you're taking and the potential reward or loss that you could be taking as well. And that you should always try to diversify your assets. Do not keep your eggs in one basket. Let me know if you actually want me to do a speed run of an investment course specifically. So I'll be down for that as well. But just a word of caution, because I have made this mistake before. Like several years ago, I got really interested in investment. And that in itself is like not a problem. But what was a problem was that I was very interested in investing without actually covering the foundations first, which is in budgeting and saving. I thought that was like boring. But in reality, that's like trying to build a house while having like a shitty foundation. So if you're interested in investing, you definitely should get your budgeting and your saving and debt repayments if you have any in order first. Okay, let's actually go back to Miguel and Jasmine and talk about retirement. So we saw from the life of Miguel and Jasmine the magic of compound interest, which is especially relevant when it comes to investing for retirement, because we're looking at 10, 20, 30, even 40 years that people have before they retire. So you have all that time to take advantage of compound interest. There are actually special retirement accounts in most countries, specifically to allow you to invest for retirement. In the US, the ones that they usually talk about is the 401k, the IRA, and the Roth IRA. The 401k is an employer-sponsored account, which is set up by your employer. So both you and your employer can contribute towards it. Some employers would actually do 401k matching. Like for example, when I was working at Meta, they did 7% 401k matching up to like a certain limit, which is really, really good. So it's essentially like free money that the employer is putting into your retirement account. IRAs are considered individual accounts, so you're basically operating that by
I
yourself.
make
And of
X
course, there's
amount of
Social
money.
Security, which
Where
is a
should I
government program
allocate that
funded
money
by federal
to?
taxes. That generally is going to be like
I'm
really,
giving you guys a
really
really
small
simple
amount,
thing.
and
It's,
who knows
it's
if
20
you actually
fucking
depend on that,
25,
who
nigga. It's
actually
really
retire,
simple.
who
It's
count
not.
that. Anyways, I'm not going to go
Couldn't
into
be
too much
much
more detail
easier, bro.
about these like very US specific things, but you can check out the details about these accounts. I think the course does a pretty good job of covering them, and I'll put the link in that for that unit below. For everybody else, and this is me included because I'm not American, there's generally some version of this for your home country as well. You can go to ChatGPT or whatever your favorite AI is and just ask like, what is the equivalent of a 401k, or just like, what are the retirement accounts available in my country? All right, time for our next little assessment. I'm going to put on screen now some of these questions that covered the past couple of units. Remember, if you answer these questions, that means you actually have retained that information. Now let's go on to scams and frauds. Okay, so I'm going to spare you the massive list of different scams and frauds that are going on, but I'm just going to leave you with 2 general wisdoms when it comes to scams and frauds.
Man.
The first one is that if it's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. In Chinese, we actually have a saying that's called 天上没有掉馅饼. That's a phrase that
My bad, bro. I just gotta take time to appreciate. Man, God is an archetype for real, man. God be making girls just look good for no reason, bro. I'm just like, damn. I be hard on girls, but I'm just like, I really love you guys. Like, it's just tough love. That's really what it is, bro. Just tough love. You guys are trying to be manly for no reason. Don't try to be us. Like, you guys do it so well. I'm trying to, you guys are so my days. Like, you guys have a power you guys don't even know about, bro. But my bad. Let me keep going. I just gotta appreciate her for a second. Let's appreciate her for a second, bro. Sheesh. Golly. I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. I'm not racist, bro. I appreciate girls from every. There's pretty girls in every race, bro. I'm like, bro, I be going to Golden Spoon. I be looking at the servers. I'm like, man, god damn, you're pretty. I be like, damn, man, silver, yo. That's how they come in India. That's how they make you. I'm like, damn, I actually go to India, man. Y'all go look good. I'm every race, man. I be looking at them. I'm saying every race, man. Not bad. Let's just take time to appreciate her right now. And she's smart, nigga. She's learning how to make money. Alright, let's stop. Let's keep going to the study session.
Mom likes to use a lot as well. But basically it's just saying that the sky does not have like these starving is like this food that drops for free. Like, you know, no such thing as a free lunch, right? If it sounds too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. If someone goes like, oh, you know, if you invest in this thing, then I'm gonna give you 50% return. Yeah, no, they're not gonna do that. Or a Nigerian prince is going to like, you know, give you the certain amount of money if you wire that amount back. That's not gonna happen either. And I actually did notice with the rise of AI, these scams have gotten a lot more intelligent. So even though like, you know, Nigerian prince sounds so ridiculous, there are like very, very like good scams.
Why
these
Nigerian?
days. So just generally speaking, if you see something.
Why Nigerian? She likes I want to say she likes niggas, yo, but she likes some black dudes, eh? Okay, it's a Nigerian prince,
And you're like, wow, that's a great opportunity. Definitely just be careful of that. And the second general wisdom is to not give out personal identifiable information.
Fuck, okay, now
things
we're
like your social security number if you're American, social insurance number
3
if you're
minutes.
Canadian,
It might cut
whatever the
off.
equivalent is to your country. Try not to give people your birthday as much as possible. Try to, you know, use different passwords, different types of emails. Just like don't do.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Expose you to. You're Canadian or whatever the equivalent is to your country. Try not to give people your birthday as much as possible. Try to, you know, use different passwords, different types of emails. Just like don't do things that can expose you to more scams. Remember, stranger danger. You know the things when you say it, like you meet everybody, we're all just like, oh, like I would totally never get scammed because of something like this. But when in reality, like when they're actually like doing these things, it can be very, very realistic. Like scammers are very good at tapping into the emotional part of your brain, and it makes you start doing things that are completely irrational. So please, if you feel
I don't
like
like showing
something
people my
completely off,
ID.
try
I
to
don't
ask
like.
questions about it. Try not to do anything rash when it comes to your money. I guess that's a general sentiment as well, not just for scams and frauds. Now, with all that being said, though, I do kind of want to make a caveat, and this is kind of like actually a personal caveat. It's actually not from the course, so not from Khan Academy. It's the fact that you can also go the opposite direction. Like for me, I'm so scared of getting scammed that I essentially just like think everything is a scam, and I missed out on a lot of opportunities, you know, because of that. And I think that also can be a problem. Like when you hear so many horror stories about scams, that you just end up not actually like making moves that could potentially benefit you financially.
If
So
you're not
just keep that in mind
desperate,
as well. There are scams.
it's really
but there's
hard
also
to be
genuinely good
scammed. You know, if
opportunities
you're
out
not
there as well.
desperate, it's
But
hard to be
moving on to the next
scammed.
section. I'm actually going to group together the two sections. The first one is careers and education, but I also want to group in employment. And the reason why I'm doing this is because these sections are not as in-depth as the other sections, and also they're very, very US-centric. So if you are American, by all means, please do check out those sections if you're interested in kind of a good overview about things to think about when you're thinking about school and your career and employment. But for this video, I'm going to talk about more general frameworks for how to think about these things.
S'il te plaît, s'il te plaît, s'il te plaît, arrête d'utiliser ChatGPT comme Google. Disparais pendant 1 mois et fais plutôt ça. Soit.
Let's talk about
Do what the fuck you want to do.
education first. Specifically, let's say colleges and universities. It is a really, really big investment to go off to college, whether that be like a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree. So before making a decision like this, it's very important to understand the breakdown of costs in relation to how much additional financial value that the degree can bring you. So return on investment. The sticker
Okay,
price
I
of what
think I'm understanding. She's given the landscape, credit, savings. You know what I mean? Banks. Not investing, insurance, investments, you know, like she's given the landscape.
the university tells you something costs is never actually the true cost of going to that school. A lot of additional costs to the tuition that people don't fully consider would be like the cost of books, the cost of materials, like lab materials if you're into sciences, art material if you're into arts. Many universities also have these other like random little fees that they just stick in there.
And I
Like,
want
mine
more.
definitely
I
did,
want to
and
focus
did
more
not
on the
know that until I
investment
actually
side.
saw, you know, the amount of money, additional money that I have to pay. Other types of costs would include transportation and living expenses if you're going to be living near the school and actually commuting to the school. So that would be transportation, housing costs, food costs, and just personal expenses. If you need to move to a city that's much more expensive than where you're living right now,
But
then
see,
you have to factor those into account.
my
as well.
money is
It
gonna come
possible
from
that
more
attending a university
my
is actually
recurring
cheaper than you would
from my
expect too.
business. My
And that's
recurring
through
revenue is
something
gonna come from my
called financial aid. I think it's
business.
especially common in
And the
US
other
based
ways I'm gonna
universities,
grow that
but there's a
money
lot of like grants and
is like
scholarships for
probably
people who can't
from
afford to go to
investments.
school, where they're,
I don't
at a
really
certain
like
level
loans
where
that
they
much,
would
but
get these scholarships.
strategically,
Of course, there's also
if
an
I
option of
feel
loans,
I can
and I'm not gonna
10x
go into
something
too much
by
detail
taking a
about
loan
this because
fast,
there's
you
a lot of
like
different types of student
speed
loans
up.
available. But generally speaking, it's just a very
I'm not
good
a student, so
idea
that doesn't
to
really
actually
apply
go
to me.
through these
But y'all
numbers
can
and
listen.
actually calculate how much things cost and what potential financial aid.
But I
you
guess
can
okay, this
apply
is just
for,
pretty nice to me. That's
before
what I
choosing the
feel.
university that you're going to. When
I'm
it comes
trying
to
because
either getting a postgraduate degree like a master's
once you
degree
know
or a
your
PhD,
options,
another
things become a
consideration
lot
you want to take into
clearer.
account is the idea
You
of
know?
opportunity cost. So the amount of money that you're going to be
I'm just
spending
looking
on
at
this
my
degree,
options.
in addition to the cost that is associated directly with that degree, also includes you not working during that period of time. So all of that is called opportunity cost. All of that money that you could potentially have earned if you actually kept working at your job would be gone. So that's also something that you need to be careful about considering. Many people also fall into the trap of thinking that getting a master's degree or a postgraduate degree would definitely increase their salary expectations afterwards, and that is not always the case. So it's also very important to evaluate that carefully too. And
I
if
know
you're
people
looking
like
to attend
that.
school or go back to school, it's obviously a really, really big decision, and it's something that you should very carefully consider. Now, the second thing
For
the
me,
question
nah,
is
I'm
very
not
helpful
going back
for
to
people
school.
who want to go to school, also for people who are trying to get a
I don't
job,
need
is
it.
an actually very, very obvious thing, is to actually talk to people. Like if you're thinking of going to a university and getting a certain degree, and you're like, oh, like I'm not sure if this is actually going to get me the job that I want, I don't know if I'm going to learn the things that I want to be learning, then actually reach out to people who have graduated from that degree. And same goes for a job. If you're like, oh, I'm not really sure if I want to do this job, I'm not really sure what that's going to be like, then try to actually reach out to people who have done that job before. Seriously, if you just talk to someone who's actually been through the experience that you're trying to decide
I'm not
about,
really
it
looking
can
for
potentially
the
save
paper.
you
I'm looking for
a
the
lot of
knowledge.
money, time,
A lot of
and
people like, oh,
okay,
why
now let's do
you
it from
can't?
tax
I'm
side.
like,
Answer the
I
question.
tell people like,
When was the
okay,
last time that you paid taxes?
Oh.
A, in the last 24
my
hours.
bad.
B,
This is
in the past
interesting.
week. C, in the past month. Or D, in the past year.
Every
I would
day.
hope the majority of you probably should
Every
have
day.
chosen A
Every
in
day.
the last 24 hours.
Every
Whether you
day.
have bought anything in the last
Every
24
day.
hours, you should have picked A. And that is because of sales tax, which is the tax that you pay every time that you purchase something, at least if you're in North America. I know that not all places have sales taxes. But my point being in doing this little exercise is the fact that when most people think about taxes, they just think about tax season, like when they have to pay taxes every single year. When in fact, you're actually paying taxes all the time throughout the year in a variety of different ways. Let me just list out a few for you. income tax, payroll
I gotta
tax,
pay
sales
that
tax,
bitch.
property tax, corporate tax, estate tax, excise tax, hotel tax, and toll tax. So these taxes generally fall into two different categories. The first one is called a flat tax, and a sales tax would be an example of this. It would just be like every time you buy something or you go to a restaurant and you eat something,
13%.
there would be like a certain percentage at the end of your bill that's tacked onto your bill.
In
and
Canada,
this
it's
is going to be the same rate for
13%.
everybody. Then there's progressive tax. An example of this would be income tax. Higher earners would generally pay a larger percentage of their income. Some taxes are going to be built into the prices itself, and there's nothing you can do about it. While for others, like income tax or property tax, you can calculate, and sometimes there are ways that you can actually reduce that tax. So generally speaking, if you're a single person, you're an employee working a full-time job, and you don't own any properties, then you would have like the simplest tax forms and the simplest tax process. You would just fill out some forms in the beginning of your employment, and usually the tax is deducted directly from your paycheck, so you don't actually even get to see that money. It gets directly paid to the government. Now it gets a little bit more complex. Say if you're a contractor and you're working for yourself, then you're taxed at different rates, and you're responsible for reporting your taxes.
Greedy ass, bitch ass tax
and
niggas.
Things like properties, then
I'm trying to get every cent of my shit, yo.
Other thing to know is that there's things called deductibles. So if there are certain things that don't count towards your taxes, so you don't get taxed on those specific things. There's also something called a tax credit, and this can be used
Nigga, it's taking every
the
cent.
tax that you have. The rest of this unit goes into detail about
sometimes don't even make sense.
Tax forms, how to fill them out, what they mean, and all these things. So definitely check
and
them
they
out if
still
you're
broke,
interested, but I'm not
nigga.
gonna cover them here just because we have.
How the fuck you take this much and we still broke?
If you're watching this right now,
fuck we take this much and we still broke,
nigga. Scroll past. I hope that when your heart hears that 1 in 3 people.
The way that a bank.
This is what I'm trying to learn as fast as possible. I don't understand how they taxing everything, and they still broke, nigga.
Bank makes money is that when you deposit money into a bank, you will receive a little bit of interest for the money in your bank, but they'll actually take that money and lend it out to other people and charge a much higher interest rate for it. And the bank gets to keep the difference in interest rate. Banks pretty much all work in a very similar way, but there are many different types of banks. So first you have your very big national or even global banks, places like JP.Morgan.Chase, Bank of America, Citibank. Generally speaking, these banks are full service banks, so they'll do lots of different things for you, but you wouldn't make the most money in terms of interest rates when you're banking with a larger bank. Then you have your regional banks. So they're smaller, they're more specific to where it is that you live. You can probably get better interest rates when you bank with them, and they may have specific perks and offerings that would be especially useful for you. You also have credit unions where you can also deposit money and take out loans, but these are generally non-profit and based on membership. So you actually have to be a member to do stuff with a credit union. If you bank with a credit union, your interest rate is generally going to be higher, but they do have more limited services. And finally, there is online banks. So these are banks that don't have physical locations, although sometimes they would partner with bigger banks so that you can use different ATMs that are around. So because the bank itself needs less money in order to operate, since it doesn't have any physical locations, generally if you bank with them, you would also get a much higher interest rate for your money. Although it is also true that some of these online banks can be a little bit more risky because they're just online people doing online banks. So when you're choosing a bank with a bank, people generally start off with a regional bank or a national or global bank, just because there's more services that are being offered, and it's generally considered to be more secure. But if you want to know better rates and more personal touch, you can consider a credit union. And finally, if you're comfortable with online things and if you want lower fees and higher interest rates, you can try an online bank. Now let's talk about different bank accounts.
No, smaller, maybe like
Desjardins,
maybe
so these terms might be
the other one, I forgot.
Based upon where you are, there's probably an equivalent of this. So you have your checking account, which is kind of like your everyday account, has very low interest rates or no interest rates, and you're essentially just using it just a place to store your money as opposed to hiding cash and hoarding cash in your house. There are money market accounts, which have slightly higher interest rates, but they may have some things that you can't withdraw under certain limits. You have to keep a certain amount of money within that bank account, or you can only do withdrawals like 5 times a month. Similarly, a savings account, it also has a little bit higher interest rate, but more restrictions. Then there are certificates of deposit, or CDs. In Canada, where I do a lot of my banking, these are called GICs, and this is kind of like the highest level of saving before you start going to investment territory, because you're essentially going to take that money and lock it up for like 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years, and in exchange for this, the bank will give you a much higher interest rate for it. And the reason why the bank is willing to do this is because if you're basically like saying, I'm not going to take this money out, then the bank is able to take that money and loan it out to people, knowing the fact that you're not going to want it back. Of course, the downside is if you actually do have to touch that money and take it out, you'll have to pay a very significant penalty for it. And finally, you have investment accounts. So investment accounts is also kind of a category in itself.
Why do they want to lock us in? Why can't I pay my whole mortgage out? Why can I not just pay my whole mortgage? Why do I only have for us specifically? I don't know if it's for everybody, but it's like it's only 10,000 a year. Because they want you, nigga. They want you here. If you do that shit, nigga, you fuck them up. They need you. They need stability. So they tweak it so you can, so you fit them. No, it's basically they tweak it so you fit their agenda. They're not fitting your agenda. You're fitting their agenda.
There are a lot of different investment accounts or stock accounts.
Why is it
You have your special
structured in that
investment
way?
retirement accounts,
Cause
like your 401ks,
it's
your
helping their
IRAs. You can also
agenda.
have like normal brokerage accounts where you can buy things like stocks and funds and things like that. Most people generally don't have just a single type of bank account. Usually at least you would have like a checking account for just moving money around, some form of savings accounts to get a little bit of interest rate, and then potentially also at least one type of investment account to be doing investing stuff. Okay, so now let's actually revisit the idea of interest rates, specifically.
My bad. Something that's scary. Imagine you put $1 million. You can deposit $1 million into your account instantly. Now you want to take out money off your account. The ATM says, no, you can only take out 20,000 at a time, even though that's your money. You put $1 million into it. Now you're like, no, we don't want you to take out that million. You can only take out 20,000 at a time. That is your credit limit. I know that is your takeout limit. I'm like, nigga, what the fuck? That's my money, nigga. What are you talking about? Now you got to follow their agenda. This is when, you know what I mean? That's crazy to me. That's your money, nigga. But now they can control you through your money. That's your money. But they charge you when you're using your money. They charge you when you're using your own money that you worked hours for. They're charging you. Isn't that strange?
In relationship to bank accounts. I mentioned interest rate for some of the accounts that I just talked about earlier, but let's specifically talk about the accounts that has compound interest built into it. Remember the story Miguel and Jasmine? Miguel contributed less money, but he actually had more money at the end of retirement, and that is because of the magic of compound interest. Luckily, some accounts have compound interest built specifically into it. For savings accounts, these will be regular saving accounts and CDs, retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs, and also most brokerage accounts, which are accounts in which you're investing stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. So any money that you earn from that investment can actually be reinvested, so you can let compound interest do its magic. So if you're looking to take advantage of compound interest, then you should be looking into these types of accounts. The last thing I want to talk about in this section is
I dare you to let me build you
So inflation.
free
We're talking about inflation
e-commerce
now.
store. Preload.
inflation. Inflation refers to the idea that the prices of things that we buy are generally going up over time. So your money actually is worth less over time. So if you ever hear in the news that inflation is 3% or 6%, this is basically saying that things are getting on average 3% more expensive or 6% more expensive. It's very important to keep track of inflation because it is a force that will continue to make your money worth less. That's why if you actually do nothing with your money, you're actually slowly losing money over time. And even when you're investing money, sometimes, somebody would tell you, oh, like the interest rate for these investments where, putting it into your savings account is like 2%, right? You're like, oh, wow, like I can make 2%. But say that your inflation rate is 3%, you're actually still losing money. You're just losing it at a slower rate, at only 1% as opposed to 3%. So yeah, always keep that in mind whenever you're planning for the future. Inflation is one of those things that will sneak up on you. All right, we're almost done. Only 2 units left. And actually unit 13, which is car buying. Going through that unit, the thing that I basically got out of it was that people would try to scam you a lot. They would do a lot of trickeries to try to scam you. And then the course does list out a few different types of trickeries that they will do on you to try to scam you. But I feel like unless you're actually actively buying a car, it's not super useful to you. So if you are, check it out. But for everybody else, I am not going to take up more of your time because this is already a very long video. So let's just end on the housing unit.
Yep.
So the first
1
part of
hour
this
and
unit talks
16
about whether
minutes.
you should rent or whether you should buy. And the instructor Sal goes through a pretty good example, so I'm going to share that with you guys now. So imagine that you want to buy a house that is listed for $400,000.
Okay.
You have $100,000, which you'll put as a down payment, which leaves $300,000, which you're going to take as a loan.
Yeah.
So just for simplicity's sake, let's say that you take out a loan
If I
that is
remember correctly, it's 20%. You have to pay 20% of the whole to just put the down payment. I forgot what the down payment, but let's not go. Yeah, go. Keep going. My bad. Apologize.
simply a 6% interest rate per year. This means that you need to pay $18,000 a year. Now, assume that you also make $100,000 in income. So in the US, your interest rate, the mortgage that you're paying, is actually deductible. This does not mean that you can just subtract $18,000 from the amount of taxes that you're paying. That would be great, but that would be called a tax credit. It means that instead of having to pay taxes on $100,000 of your earnings, because you're spending $18,000 to pay back for the loan, you only get taxed on $82,000. So very approximately a third, or $6,000, will be considered reduced taxes, which means that the effective cost that you're paying for interest interest for your mortgage is $12,000. So unfortunately, the cost associated with buying a house is not just the mortgage. There's also additional things like property tax. Let's say, for example, here, that property tax is $4,000, which is 1% of the value of your property. And say that you have to spend another $2,000 just to upkeep your property and like do some renovations or something like that.
Air tax.
Which means that in the end, the amount of money that you're paying for the house in terms of buying
Breathing
is
tax.
$18,000. So now let's consider renting. Say
We're not going to tax you on the air that you're around. We're going to tax you on the air that you breathe, that you take in your thing, you know?
But that's not it. All things considered equal, if you still had $100,000 and you did not
CO2 tax, because nigga, when you get the air in your lungs, you're breathing some, you know, some carbon, like, you know, we're going to tax you on that shit.
Like 2%. Maybe you just stuck it into a savings account and you only got 2% out of it. This means that you earned another $2,000. So effectively decreasing to $18,000 per year to $16,000 per year if you choose to rent. So in this example, using, you know, these specific numbers, it turns out that it would be better for you to actually rent the house as opposed to buying this house. However, of course, this is like a very simplistic example, and there's also a lot of other factors to consider as well. Like maybe the fact that psychologically speaking, you just want to have a house, right? Like maybe you want to have a place to yourself. You don't want to keep moving around whenever your lease is over. There are a lot of other factors at play as well. But I do think this is a really nice little framework in terms of trying to understand whether you should be renting versus buying. I think people in our generation might just believe that buying is always better than renting because from our parents' generation, that usually was always the case. But
ownership,
not always the case anymore. So if you are deciding whether you should rent or buy, try to kind of do this little exercise first.
Listen, in the grand scheme of things, ownership is always the best option. It's not good because we don't have the option of it. If you don't have the option of ownership, of course you have to rent because you don't want to die. You don't want to, you know, hurt yourself. But ownership is always the goal. If you're renting, you're making somebody else more money. Because by renting, you're not owning it. Meaning, it's for them, somebody else is going to take your spot. Ownership is, ownership is good because you're telling this person, that's mine now. I don't have to give you money anymore. They don't like that. It's mine now. I don't owe you anymore. I paid you enough. What they like, some people, there's some systems like that. It depends where you live. They don't want you, they won't tell you outright, we don't want you to own this. They'll just do stupid shit like hidden fees, you know, they'll just up the price because they want you to leave. They want you to leave. They don't want you to stay because once you stay and you own it, you don't owe them anymore. It's not a reoccurring revenue for them anymore. You're no longer a reoccurring. When you're renting, you're a reoccurring revenue for them. Every month you get paid this amount. Like yes. But once you own, damn, he doesn't pay me anymore. He's no longer my, you know. It's common sense, man.
Khan Academy also has a nice little mortgage calculator.
You gotta read in between the lines. They don't tell you this outright, but you can tell a lot by how a person, you know, structures their business.
Which I will link in the description. If you're based in the US, then that will be helpful for you as well. Okay, we are at the end of this video. Oh my gosh, this is such a long video. It actually took me 2 days to film the whole thing. Truthfully, I don't think I was able to cover like everything about this course. So I tried my best to kind of go through these foundations.
No, thank you very much.
Ideas of them, so that if you're interested in any specific section, you can actually go to that course. And Khan Academy courses are all completely free, and to do that section by yourself. But hopefully, this at least gives you an idea of what you don't know. Because if you know what you don't know, then you can look up the things that you don't know. I think the very difficult thing about financial literacy is oftentimes we don't know what we don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna stop blabbing. So as promised, here is an assessment that covers these sections. Please write your answers in the comments. If you're interested in self-learning everything about this course, so I tried my best to kind of go through these foundations and give you the big ideas of them, so that if you're interested in any specific section, you can...
If it cuts by any chance, thank you for watching the video. Y'all stay blessed. I just want to look at the questions.
You can actually go to that course, and Khan Academy courses are all completely free, and to do that section by yourself. But hopefully this at least gives you an idea of what you don't know. Because if you know what you don't know, then you can look up the things that you don't know. I think the very difficult thing about financial literacy is oftentimes we don't know what we don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna stop blabbing. So as promised, here is an assessment that...
Questions. What is a simple way to evaluate a school major job? What do you mean by that? What is a flat and versus progressive tax? Flat, that's like every time you buy something. Progressive tax, I gotta. That is like Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Okay, if I get 6% return on your investment and inflation, I like that. I like that she's putting questions at the end to kind of gauge. That's something like I said, I'm learning a lot from her right now. Like, okay, learning to learn. You know, if once I'm able to structure a video where it's digestible to you guys, now it's like, okay, now I'm asking you a question at the end. Now it's like it's integrating the information in your head. So I like how she's doing it. She told you what she's going to talk about, so giving you an overview, so kind of priming yourself. This is what I want to learn. It makes it easier to encode. Then at the end, she has questions, like a test to gauge how much did you learn from this video. I like that. I like that a lot.
Covers these sections.
For me, personalized, to end it, personalized, what I learned from this video, personalization, is that I realized that, okay, this is the overview in a sense, and I feel like strategically my money is going to come from business. If you look at, it's going to take time. Fast money, that's not how it works. So I'm going to say my time should be spent on building a good business. Once I get good revenue from the business, I can start investing. Now, loans, I'm not really interested in loans. I don't really care that much. If I do find, I don't really care about a credit. I should focus on paying that shit off. And yeah, if I can say, I would say right now also, so focus on the business. Focus on building a good business. I'll focus then a little bit just on investment. Right now, can I put like $20 into something that will grow? Like she did say, if you start investing right now, just little amounts, doesn't have to be a big amount. Yes, you can start investing in the future, but you have because you have a good, nice job than that. But I'm saying it's still best to start as early as possible. Compound interest. You see what I'm saying? So now this is helping me kind of like gauge strategically what should I prioritize. So she helped me learn what should I prioritize. So 3 things again: building a good business, where should I put my money now, so it can compound, even if it's a $10, $5, and paying the credit cards, paying my credit cards. And I'm saying just how can I, what are my options? You know what I mean? If I got bad credit, how do I rebuild that stuff again? How do I rebuild it? How do I gain a better credit? Those are these 3 things. For me, personalization. Alright. I don't really have to learn about what were the questions again. Yeah. I don't really filter out. I don't need to filter out. I always know I'll come to it when it comes to it. Like I pay taxes every day. Like I said, I don't have to learn about that. I just know I have to do it. It's nothing I can control. It's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Regardless. You know what I mean? Regardless, there's something like you just, you know. So yeah, thank you very much for watching the video. Y'all be safe. Hope this has helped you guys in your particular journey as counselor. I do want to learn this stuff so I can help, you guys get just at least get some money, like easy money. How can I structure it in a sense? Because I feel like reviewers like, why are we not learning this shit young? Why is this so? Because this is not shit I'm not the first person to say this. If you study history, I'm not the first. This is what shocks me. I'm not the first person to say. People have been saying this for 20 years. People have been saying this for 30 years, and you're just like, what? So people been saying this? So why the fuck is it still the same? Why is it still like not accessible for a lot of people? Why is it the fuck is like certain communities are not preview to this information? You know what I mean? It feels kind of niche in a sense, bro. But at the end, like I'm telling you guys, there ain't a quick get rich scheme. That's not the aim of the game. It's patience. It's delayed gratification. It's okay. How can I get rich in the future? It's not how can I get rich now. If you get rich now, it creates desperation. When you're desperate, You make bad decisions. The less desperate you are, the better. That's pretty much it. The younger you are, nigga, the better, bro, because you don't feel like you wasted your life. I'm glad. Like I said, I'm still glad. I'm in my 20s, my nigga. Still glad, nigga. That means my 30s gonna be good. Nigga, you know, cause a lot, like, I think it's more like a lot of kids think like when you're in your 20s, you're an adult. Like, you know, you're old now. But nah, nigga, when you get this, you realize, okay, you're still young. Like, you're still like boom, boom, boom. You're still that. You're still like, even 30s, nigga, you're still young. Even in your 30s, you're still young. Like, in your 30s, you're still like a lot of things. Like, but yeah, hope this helped. Y'all be safe. Y'all be great.